I think innately all dogs like to play with other dogs because, again, dogs are pack animals. They're social beings. The problem becomes if your dog is not socialized early on to playing with other dogs. And I really think behaviorists feel at this point there's enough data out there that play serves a very, very important function for dogs in that it teaches them how to interpret dog cues. What's a friendly dog cue? What's an aggressive dog cue? And if your dog does not learn that early on, it can get into trouble later on if all of a sudden it's exposed to a dog that it doesn't understand how to interpret its language. Not unlike you sending your child to the playground. There's risks, of course, when you send your child to the playground. There are certainly risks when you take your dog to a dog park. I think that people need to understand that a dog park should not, in my opinion, substitute for the core exercise that the dog is going to get. For instance, if the only opportunity that your dog has to get any exercise is when you take it to the dog park and throw it into, say, a pack of wild and crazy, not in an aggressive way, but wild and crazy dogs, then that can sometimes backfire because the dog can then sometimes come back wilder than when it went. So if you're giving your dog the walks that it needs and spending the time with your dog, even if it's just playing in your own yard and giving it some exercise, then adding the dog park, whatever, once a day, once a week, once a month, whatever feels right to you, is probably a very important thing to do. The issue of risk at the dog park, again, I feel that the benefit of taking your dog to the dog park outweighs the risk. Just like, if you had a child, you don't want to fight your battles all the time for your child because then, just like the child, the dog doesn't learn. I've seen many people who, when they come to the dog park for the first time, especially if it's a smaller dog, they'll put their dog down, but then as soon as a big dog or a dog that they feel might be a little bit too rough comes along, they'll scoop their dog right up into their arms before that dog even has a chance to interact and possibly fend off for itself. Dogs do not like to fight inherently. That is really not, many people feel that that's true, but they don't want to fight. Dogs would much, much rather be friends and play than fight. It's the dog that's unsocialized that is typically the one, or one that has been taught to fight, and that certainly is a problem out there with certain breeds.